Charlie thought that Leathina suddenly wanted to invite him to her house for dinner. Thinking of finding an excuse to decline, Leathina waited for him to speak and hurriedly said, "It happens to be Saturday tomorrow. Doris will not go to work. She can help me at home and make more dishes." Simon on the hospital bed also spoke in agreement. "Yeah, Mr. Wade, come home to have a meal. Just take it as an act of thank you from us." However, Simon is far from knowing that Charlie had actually been to his house earlier. Seeing that both Leathina and Simon said so, Charlie was somewhat embarrassed. He didn't really want to agree to the meal, but he felt it was difficult to refuse at their face. Just when he was a little bit hard to get off the topic, Doris hurriedly said, "Mom, I have something to do tomorrow. The company has to work overtime, some other day?" "Ah, you will work overtime tomorrow?" Leathina was very dissatisfied and said, "Why'd I have to work overtime on weekends?" In fact, Doris didn't really want to work overtime, but she saw that her parents might have a good impression of Charlie, and guessed that her parents might want to take advantage of the opportunity to invite Charlie to dinner to learn more about him. Therefore, she also guessed that her parents must not know that Charlie is now married, otherwise, they would certainly not be so direct. So, she planned to postpone the matter of inviting Charlie to eat at home, and then clarify the words with her parents. Even if Charlie's true identity cannot be told to them, at least she must let them know that Charlie already has a wife. As her husband, let them stop thinking about it. Thinking of this, she said very seriously, "Mom, I really have something to do tomorrow, not only tomorrow but also a lot of things the day after tomorrow. It is really busy lately, or let's not make an appointment this week, next week. Look at the time, we will see about it again?" Leathina heard what she said, and knew there was no way to continue. What she wanted was Charlie to come to the house to have dinner with their family of 3, but if her daughter had something to do, she and her husband invited Charlie to eat at home. More or less it's also strange. So she had no choice but to say, "Well, then I will not ask Mr. Wade to come to eat at home this week. Next week, depending on your work situation, let's make an early decision and try to invite Mr. Wade to come home for dinner." After she finished speaking, she looked at Charlie again, and said with an apologetic expression, "Mr. Wade, I'm so sorry, so let's make an appointment next week. What do you think?" Charlie nodded and said with a smile, "Auntie, I can do it." Leathina hurriedly said to Doris again, "Doris, you won't be allowed to work overtime on weekends next week." Doris said embarrassingly, "I don't have the final say whether to work overtime or not. If there is really something important for me to do this week, I can't just leave it behind." Leathina said with some dissatisfaction, "You are too hard every day. Why does your boss arrange so much work for you? Isn't this squeezing employees?" When Charlie heard this, he felt a little embarrassed. After all, he is the boss who squeezed employees in Leathina's words. Charlie said at this time, "Uncle and Aunt, it's getting late, I won't bother you much." Leathina knew that she was wasting a lot of time for Charlie, and hurriedly said, "Okay Mr. Wade, Auntie will let you go, and let Doris send you to the parking lot." Charlie smiled and said, "No need Auntie, I can just go by myself." Doris hurriedly said, "Charlie, or I will send you off." Charlie waved his hand. "After Doris, you don't send me off. Stay here to accompany my uncle and aunt. In addition, if the uncle is going to be discharged tonight, you have to hurry up and finish the discharge procedures." Hearing this, Doris did not insist anymore. She was very grateful and said to Charlie, "Thank you so much for what happened today." Charlie waved his hand. "Don't be so polite, you can stay, I'm leaving." Doris sent Charlie to the door, seeing Charlie leave, only then returned to the ward. As soon as she entered the ward, Leathina hurried over, took Doris's hand, and asked with concern, "Doris, what is the relationship between that Mr. Wade and you?" Doris hurriedly said, "It's just an ordinary friendship." "Ordinary friend?" Leathina hurriedly asked her when he heard this. "Then you have a good impression of Mr. Wade in that respect?" Doris said in a panic. "Ah? I don't have one." Leathina shook her head, and said with a face of disbelief, "You're cheating with your mother? I can tell at a glance. You must have a good impression of Mr. Wade." Doris suddenly didn't know how to answer. She naturally had a good impression of Charlie in her heart, and she also had a deep affection. Especially this time, Charlie not only helped her punish Walter who poisoned her father, he even saved her father's life with a precious magic medicine. This made her feel good about Charlie to an unprecedented height. However, she was very clear in her heart. Charlie is a dignified young master of the Wade family, and an Emgrand group alone is worth more than 100 billion. How can this be possible with him? Not to mention, he is already married, and even his wife and her deal with work together. Thinking of this, Doris still didn't understand more or less. Why did Charlie marry that girl? She has been in contact with her several times, and she looks really beautiful, but the real ability to do things is actually not outstanding. If Charlie hadn't been helping her secretly, she wouldn't have been able to get the cooperation of the Emgrand group for her family group. Even the design studio, she started her own business. The overall strength is not top-notch. If it follows the normal process, her studio will not be able to get any project from the Emgrand Group, not even capable of bidding for the Emgrand Group project qualifications. However, it is precisely because Charlie spoils her that he builds bridges for her and paves the way. Furthermore, her family conditions are not very good either. When the group was at its peak, it was just a very trivial and third-rate family, and so, in terms of ability, she herself is no worse than Charlie's wife. On family, even in terms of the family, even in terms of looks, I dare not say that she is inseparable from her, but at least it is not much worse. It's a pity that Charlie chose that girl, a girl who is not so brilliant. This is pure luck. She may not have this opportunity in her life. Thinking of this, Doris couldn't help feeling a little melancholy. At this time, Leathina said earnestly, "Doris, Mom really thinks that you and Mr. Wade are really a good match, and Mr. Wade, the young man, is really good. People are so concerned about our family's affairs. He is also interesting to you, plus you are also interested in him. Can't you follow the flow of the boat and focus on development?" When Doris heard her mother's words, she was a little embarrassed. She blurted out, "Oh Mom, what do you think? Charlie is already married." "Ah," Leathina immediately exclaimed when she heard this answer, and asked in disbelief, "You said Mr. Wade is married?" "Really?" Doris said helplessly. "Of course it is true. Can I lie to you about this kind of thing?" Suddenly, Leathina became very sorry, and said with a sigh, "Hey, why do you think these good boys are all married?"